I want to start by something quite interesting today. In Numbers 11, we're gonna start from, I think, verse 1, and the Bible says, "Now the people complained about their troubles in the hearing of the word. When the Lord heard it, his anger burned. The fire of the Lord burned amongst them and destroyed some of the outer parts of the tents. Then the people cried to Moses, and he prayed to the Lord, and the fire went out." So the name of that place was called Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burned amongst them. Now, I'm going to get to you. The mixed group of people amongst them had strong desires. The people of Israel cried again and said, "Who will give us meat to eat?" Watch this. "We remember all the fish we could eat free in Egypt, and all the fruits and vegetables and spices." That's quite interesting. "But now our strength is gone. There is nothing at all to look at except this bread from heaven." By the way, the bread from heaven is actually manna. It is that, right? Don't get confused. They said that now the bread from heaven was like coriander seed, and it looked like, is it palladium, if I'm not mistaken. The people will go and gather it and beat it in between stones. Oh gosh, it probably was horrible. They boiled it in a pot or made bread with it. My God. It tasted like bread with oil. So I think bread with oil, I think in my view, I probably am having something like, garlic roll or garlic bread, because that's like bread with oil. Wasn't so bad, but anyway, they hated it. When the grass became wet around the tent at night, the bread from heaven would fall. It is quite interesting when I look at the history of the children of Israel, particularly when it comes to their journey and the process of emancipation and their liberation struggle. Because if you think about it, the whole situation, or the freeing of the children of Israel out of Egypt, was basically the liberation struggle, where for a certain period of time they were in captivity, and when Moses came forth, that became their key in being liberated. But there is something that they do in the wilderness that actually surprises me, is that they get to a point whereby, obviously, you need to understand something, that the wilderness was a temporary arrangement. It was a place that was on the road to them going into Canaan, the promised land. So it was not a natural habitat. So therefore, logically speaking, it would be foolish for any of them to actually expect all of the nice things, the fish and the fruits, on a place that is not permanent. This is the place that is just, it's a road, it's a route, it's a journey. You are not meant or designed to sit in that place. You are not meant to design to settle in that place. So therefore, everything that you're gonna do is temporary. The most important thing is that you are on a journey. So in other words, it is a bit irrational to expect certain things in the wilderness, because the wilderness is not designed for that, and we are not going to sit in the wilderness. It is quite interesting that at some point many of them come to Moses and they were complaining about the harsh conditions that they were subjected to in the wilderness. Many of them were crying about the difficult conditions, the lack of resources that they were experiencing in the wilderness, to such a point that many of them were connected to the past, that our lives were better off in Israel, whereby we had all of these things. Therefore, it becomes interesting that they seem not to have an understanding that you have to pick your struggle. Because if you look at Egypt and the Egypt and the wilderness, is that in Egypt you were comfortable, but the struggle in Egypt has no results. It just the end, or the end thereof, is that you're gonna die in captivity. However, the struggle in the wilderness has a positive outcome, because at the end of this struggle, something is about to happen in their lives. So therefore, they could not properly understand the significance of the struggle that they were under, because even when they were still in Egypt, they were under a lot of problems. But they couldn't identify that I am in a much more worse situation, but the situation that I'm in at least has a positive outcome, versus a much more smoother process where I was comfortable that has no positive outcome at all. So in other words, they could not understand, like many of us, whereby many of us seem not to have a vision of identifying the struggle that we're in. Therefore, the question is, why am I struggling? Am I struggling sitting around in the comfort of Egypt, or am I struggling while am I struggling in the wilderness while en route to the promised land? Because struggles are not the same. Because you might be struggling, but in the process or en route to your destiny, or you could struggle but sitting in one place. Be very careful when you analyze your situation, because some of us, you find that you are struggling, but you are struggling while sitting down doing nothing and hoping something will fly out of the air. But some are struggling while en route to your destiny. So therefore, do not find yourself in the most confusing situation that the children of Israel found themselves in, whereby many of them preferred a struggle that has no results over a harsher struggle that has positive results at the end of the road. So therefore, you have to have that ability to look within yourself and be able to understand that, am I suffering because I am sitting in a comfort zone that has no benefit, or that has no constructive benefit in my life? Or am I sitting in a difficult situation that is motivating me, that is molding me, that is cultivating me to becoming a next person? So therefore, as you sit there, I would like to say, pick your struggle and make sure that the struggle has victory at the end of the line.